The following episode was recorded shortly before the passing of Ozzy Osbourne and contains discussion about his recent gig at Villa Park on the 5th of July.
We'd like to pay tribute to an icon of our home city of Birmingham and dedicate this episode to his memory.
It's the Middle-Aged Bodcast. Getting older, but having some laughs.
Welcome to the Middle-Aged Podcast with me, Raging Rich.
And me, T.A. Shelano.
And today we are here with episode number 10. We are very quickly approaching the finale and the 1-year anniversary of the Middle-Aged Podcast.
Oh, indeed. It's motoring along now, Rich, in the height of summer. We've obviously had some really good weather as well, haven't we? We can reflect on for a change.
Well, we can, but it's blooming not recording in it.
Well, you know, you have to work in these conditions, Rich. As professionals, you don't get to dictate what the weather does. You just got to get on with it. And that's all you can do. So we're here. We obviously had some interesting recent experiences. We've been guests on another podcast that went out very recently. We appeared on Flixwatcher with Kobe and Helen, and we covered your choice, The Matrix.
Yeah, a film I love. I hadn't watched it for a couple of years. Flixwatcher sent us a list of films, and when the choice came up, I thought, you know what, go with The Matrix. For a couple of reasons. We won't spoil what the other film choice was, but let's just say that it wasn't really one I wanted to rewatch, so I thought I'd put you through the same pain in watching The Matrix.
You didn't put me through any pain. I mean, I've got to get a terrible reputation for this episode. I mean, for anybody who's not yet listened to the Flixwatcher episode, please do go and listen and follow them as well. But if you do listen, I feel like I'm getting this really harsh reputation as some kind of Matrix naysayer, which is not entirely fair, I don't think. And that's as much as I'm going to say about it.
Oh, I'm only pulling your leg, you know that. But yeah, it was really good, actually. It was strange hearing us both back on another podcast again, because obviously we've done a couple individually, and then we did do Booked with Saffron as a joint bonus episode. Why are you laughing?
I'm going to just say, it just reminded me of something. You know that there's like an audiogram clip. Of that episode. There's sort of like a brief intro for it, where there's a soundbite of you, and then there's a soundbite of me. Mrs. Shelano, when it played, she did go, "Oh my God, you two sound so Brummie."
Yeah, but I'm not being funny. We sound Brummie to her because she's not Brummie.
No, I don't. But it was just when you listen to it, you go, "Oh yeah, okay, I can kind of hear that." You know, it's like we're both going along the lines of saying, well, where things are going with tech and AI. You know, you could just hear it kind of coming through. It's I think it's always a bit of an honour to get an opportunity to go on with the podcast, and that's the third podcast we've been on as guests now as well, Rich.
It was great being on Flixwatcher, and we have mentioned in the past that we're looking for guests all the time, and we've reached out to a few people have reached out to us, and we are going to be getting in touch with those people in the next few weeks, hopefully, to arrange some stuff for season 5. So please do, if we have spoken to you, don't worry. We haven't suddenly decided we don't want you on the podcast. We do. We're just trying to get through this season that we'd already got set up. We've been talking to some really cool people, but yeah, we're more than willing to guest on podcasts as well. It doesn't have to be about sort of the topics we talk about. We've done Flixwatcher, which is all about film. We did Casting Views, which is very pop culture heavy. And then, yeah, we've Booked. It's more sort of towards your author side of things, TA. But yeah, we kind of more than open to chatting on podcasts if anyone wants us to. And as I say, if people want to come and talk sort of middle-aged musings and any kind of things they're up to with health and well-being or mental health or anything like that, please do reach out.
And speaking of writing, Rich, I've obviously recently been to the Jericho Writers Festival in London.
Was Chris Jericho there?
He wasn't, no. It was Y2K Words You've Written rather than Y2J, as was his wrestling's moniker, Rich. But that was probably the biggest writing event I've been to, actually. Very well organised event. Got to meet some really interesting other writers, not just from the UK. There was people that had travelled from America, Australia, and all sorts for that conference, and it was really enjoyable. There was some great sessions, great advice. Got to put a few words from the second novel in front of a couple of specialists. I won't say too much about what they said.
Yeah, and all that. No, there was some positive stuff from what you've said. There was some positive stuff.
Some of it was positive. So I really enjoyed that, actually, in terms of as an opportunity to meet other people in the writing community. And I think that's one of the things that runs as a theme through what we've been doing, which really is that being, involved with the writing and podcasting communities is a massive positive from this. And it's people you wouldn't get otherwise to engage with.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with you on that. I was just going to say the best thing that I personally feel happened from that weekend was you going with Mrs. Shelano to Battersea Power Station and me saying, there's a Transformers store there. And you buy me a Optimus Prime fridge magnet. So thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad that's what you've taken from that weekend.
Well, I do want to point out, and I know you're going to hate me for saying it, but I do want to say it. And I see your face. But the fact you had to ask somebody who worked there which one was Optimus Prime, and I have to give you grief for it, because literally every week when we are in the studio, right in front of us is a picture signed by Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime.
Yeah, okay. I accept that I don't have the required knowledge, but bear with me a second while we're on the theme of superheroes, because, Rich, massive superhero fan that you are, but you were nowhere near. Aquaman was at Villa Park, Birmingham, hosting for the retirement gig of Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, the sort of local Birmingham legends. Jason Momoa was there crowd surfing, and you missed it. I know it's not your music, but I could have imagined you there with him, sort of singing all that metal songs.
To be fair, I am gutted because Steven Tyler was there from Aerosmith.
Well, he was a surprise guest because there was him and Ronnie Wood from the Rolling Stones. I don't think either of those were billed, and they were actually on stage together with some other people as well. Which
Billy Corgan was there from the Smashing Pumpkins. I think saw James Hetfield from Metallica as well. So yeah,
Metallica, yeah. Guns N' Roses were there.
Oh, you see, that is my kind of thing. I mean, Black Sabbath, obviously, probably a little bit too young to have gotten into them when I was younger. That they weren't really as prevalent, and sort of not really the kind of thing that my folks listened to. So Rod Stewart. I mean, my dad was a big fan of him, although he has gone off him recently. But yeah.
Well, he just did Glastonbury.
Well, he did just do Glastonbury, but he did the American Songbook, and I know my dad wasn't a big fan of that. But Ozzy Osbourne, yeah, huge local legend. There was the gig at Villa Park, as you say. I will just say about Jason Momoa and you calling him Aquaman. He will soon be Lobo in the new DCU. I just had to get that in there so you'd roll your eyes.
I have no idea what that is.
It's what film I watched at the weekend. We're going to talk about later. It's part of that.
Okay, it's all linked into that universe, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't keep up. There is literally so much stuff in this universe is a superhero world. But no, in terms of the gig, well, I think what I probably underestimated in terms of, we obviously know of Ozzy Osbourne and then obviously Sharon, his wife and whatnot, the kids quite a bit. But I think we probably would have underestimated, not being massive fans of that music, just how much of an influence they've actually been on that whole genre of music. And to have so many acts travel, particularly from America, to be there to sort of pay tribute to them, really, and the influence that they've had on all those careers. I thought that was quite interesting. And actually the sheer amount of people that travelled from all over the world to that gig. I saw people interviewed from parts of South America, there's all parts of Europe, Canada, you name it. There are people had come a long way to go and see that. And it was, what's even more wonderful about it is all the profits were for charity, which, often some of these gigs, they're not at all. But they have literally split the money 3 ways between the Birmingham Children's Hospital and charity. It's obviously held at Villa Park, where Aston Villa play, and they sponsor the Acorns Children's Hospice, so that's one of the others. And obviously Ozzy's got Parkinson's disease, so they split with Cure Parkinson's. So those 3 charities get £140 million split 3 ways from that whole event, and I think for the funds that were generated from it. And I think they did some live streaming of the event. There was a few million people watching at one point worldwide as well. So that's fantastic, and kind of just wanted to sort of raise that. It's not something we were at. We know somebody who I think was at the event, and also I did see a load of the people actually queuing to have their picture taken on the bench. There's a bench of Black Sabbath in Birmingham City Centre, and they were queuing down the road for that, which was quite incredible to see. So worth flagging that, which I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think such a great cause. Well, such great causes to be raising the money for, and as you say, to raise that kind of money at a gig, and to get the artists that they did to come along and support that and provide, guest performances and things like that. And like I say, maybe not. I'm not really a big Black Sabbath fan, unfortunately, but a lot of the people that were supporting, as I say, I love Aerosmith, I love the Smashing Pumpkins. So I didn't get to see Steven Tyler or Billy Corgan, but yeah, really, really good to see that happening, and something to be proud of in Birmingham again. And Villa Park is a great venue as well.
It is indeed. So you want to talk about Superman, Lobo? I'm just gonna. Let's let you.
I did go and see Superman at the weekend, and the only reason I want to bring it up is it's a very divisive thing around different audiences. There are a lot of people out there who say, just keep Henry Cavill. That was amazing. That's the greatest Superman ever. Personally, I don't think that. I do think the best Superman ever is Christopher Reeve. I think a lot of people would say that as well. But I did enjoy Man of Steel for what it was. It was something different. This, on the other hand, I do think is it's more like the Christopher Reeve movies than the others, but it's also very comic book heavy. There were a couple of things, maybe a little silly, but I really enjoyed it. I thought the soundtrack was excellent. James Gunn is a brilliant director. I've already said, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, that trilogy, and also The Suicide Squad, not to be confused with Suicide Squad, the two separate movies that have come out. James Gunn did the second one for that. Which kind of led to him then becoming the guy in charge of this new DCU. But I really enjoyed it. The guy playing Superman's brilliant. Crypto, the dog. Superman has a dog, which I thought would be the silliest thing in the film, but that was brilliant. I really did enjoy it. One thing I do think they need to start doing, obviously, we've said I'm a big fan of the Marvel films and whatnot and the MCU. I do feel like now the shared universe thing is getting a little bit too much. Everything has to get bigger and bigger every time. And it's the law of diminishing returns. And what I really liked about the Superman film was there were other characters in it that were superheroes, but it was a Superman film. It wasn't a Superman film trying to introduce three characters that were all going to have their own films. It was Superman primarily the centerpiece of that story. Yes, there are some other characters in it, but it is a Superman film, and I thought it was excellent.
What we need, Rich, of course, is for somebody to make the Doctor's Hidden Patients into a film. That's what we need. And give something different and a new universe to focus on. And then my second book can also then be made into a film. I'm on a shameless roll here. Keep plugging.
Maybe we could get Christopher Nolan to do the Doctor's Hidden Patients, the movie.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I can imagine. I mean, it's a ridiculous imagination, but I can imagine being made into a film.
I'd take Dexter Fletcher. He's not a terrible director.
No.
He's done some good films, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd want to meet him if your book's being made into a film. I'd want to meet him to talk to him about Press Gang. But you know,
he was also, don't forget, he was in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
He was, yes. He's also briefly in Kick-Ass.
Yes. Yes, of course he was.
And he also, for a brief period, took over from Dominic Diamond on Games Master.
Wow. Okay,
I'm full of useless facts here.
That is a unique reference. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting that. You do have some great knowledge.
I have a lot of useless knowledge.
I do vaguely remember Dominic Diamond, vaguely as well. Yeah, that's interesting. You've thrown me completely with that. That's taken me almost surprised.
Well, let's get back onto sort of podcasting topics. We did do our cooking special quite recently, and that was really good, and I know we've spoken about bringing that back and maybe doing a little bit more on the cooking side of things, and I think maybe once per season having an episode where we do a little bit of cooking. It's really interesting, actually. I spoke to Ruth about it the other day, and she kind of gave me an idea. I said, oh, you know what we should do? It's like me and TA, we could cook like a meal where we both cooking a 3-course meal together. And Ruth's response was, the problem is you've got a 3-course meal. The main's going to be the big thing that needs everything. So is one of you going to be cooking 2 courses? And she suggested doing like a tasting menu.
Okay.
Where we combine forces to do a tasting menu. And I mean, maybe that's the way to go in season 8, 9 or 10. When we're a bit more
season 8, 9 or 10.
When we're a bit more comfortable with the cooking.
Hey, you won't be able to afford me by then.
I'll replace you with a half human, half robot hybrid version of you.
Excuse me. Hang on a second. That's my book. And a film, hopefully, maybe one day. But no, that's an interesting idea, though. I do like the idea of trying out different things on the catering side, and that was a really enjoyable episode that we had go out recently, where you and I sort of took obviously a recipe each. I mean, again, we didn't go anything crazy with what we were doing. It was something more adept to the culinary skills that you and I have. But as anything, it should build, shouldn't it? So absolutely, we should be revisiting different ideas for future episodes. And on podcast topics as well, which I am getting back in the fitness zone. Sean's got me back under his wing. He doesn't know that, but he has. So I'm getting very much back into that zone, which is good because I'd been a bit sporadic. So that's a positive.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find my sort of fitness thing. And again, talking to Ruth about it. And one of the things she mentioned, I've kind of felt with the summer and whatnot, stretching has been really helpful. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of found with the heat that my foot was swelling up a little bit in my ankle, and I started doing some stretches. And Ruth did suggest, what if I tried a bit of yoga? And as we know, Diamond Dallas Page DDP yoga is a thing. And I actually have his book, which isn't the easiest thing to follow because it's not actually the physical book I've got. It's a Kindle version. So it's a little bit difficult to follow, but going to try and figure out if I can get into that and see if that's something that I enjoy. Because as you said, the exercise bike didn't really work for me. Just still trying to find that exercise that I enjoy doing. So I think the yoga would be good just for the stretching and the flexibility kind of side of things. Because I do think we're going to talk a little bit more about some of this weekend and whatnot. And obviously had a bit of a train journey that we'll be talking about in a bit. But it's just sat in one place on that, and my knees, which have been getting a lot better, were just really aching at the end of it.
Well, it's lower impact as well, yoga, and it might be easier than another suggestion, because way back in season 3, we obviously interviewed Tammy, and you don't know this, but she has been in touch to say, why have we not turned up for our kickboxing sessions yet? To which I said, well, I said, I'm getting back in my fitness. You never know. You might get me there. I said, I think Rich might be trickier to get him into a kickboxing session.
I don't see you doing it either, TA, but
What?
fair enough.
What? Hang on a second. I'm a aficionado of Mr. Sean T's routines. I'm getting more flexible.
Just because you're an aficionado, I'm a superhero aficionado. It doesn't mean I can fly and shoot heat vision from my eyes.
They wouldn't expect that in the first session. Just doing a few kicks against the pads would probably be as much as they'd expect in a first session, I'm sure.
You'd be like Orange Cassidy from the wrestling. You'd be able to kick him in the ankles.
Who? I don't even know who that is.
It's from AEW.
That reference has gone.
I'll send you a clip. You won't like it when I send it. But I send you a clip.
I can imagine not based on what how you just described it, but yeah. So I think finding your fitness thing that you enjoy. Yoga is definitely one of those kind of things that is lower impact on the joints, and is something that can be followed. So
I think as well it'll be something that potentially, once I've sort of got a bit of a baseline again of things, I can then move on to doing some other activities, because I think that's the thing. Like, my knees, running wouldn't really help my knees, and I would love to get back into the swimming, but there's not really much of an option for swimming around here, as we know. With the swimming baths and whatnot, they're a bit awkward to get into. Like, you're shaking your head. I think they are. Well, just like going and like, yeah, just sort of from things you hear of going to the public swim sessions and whatnot, because there's literally like 2 lanes open and the rest of it's full of people swimming. And you've got, if you have got 4 or 5 people wanting to swim, they're all sharing 2 lanes. It's not great.
Well, Mrs. Shelano has complained because she has on occasion been to our local swimming pool, and she did always moan about the fact if she went on a Sunday morning, there was this man that just sort of, he's swimming, he just splashes everywhere, and it just kind of hits everybody else, so it's not great. She often used to come back and complain about that. So I can kind of take your point on that one. But yeah, finding something you enjoy is key. I mean, obviously the cooking has taken off for you particularly a lot through the podcast, which is a positive. But yeah, finding that fitness outlet is probably key, I would suggest. But I mean, in terms of your fitness, Rich, you've been doing some miles on a train, I hear.
This had been booked for a little while, but me and Ruth and her daughter went on a steam train at the weekend, and we did a murder mystery on the train, which was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. But again, very hot, which was a bit of a shame, but the food was excellent. It's at Churnet Valley Railway. They are not sponsoring anything. They obviously look for volunteers and whatnot. And I would honestly say to anyone who wants a really unique experience, go check them out. They have various different events that they do. They're actually doing a pub quiz in a few weeks, but it's unfortunate that we've booked on the same train a different event, so we're not doing the pub quiz. So we're doing pie and mash on the train for that one. But yeah, the murder mystery was excellent. You get there, there's people that kind of talk to you. They're like, "Oh, you're here for the pottery competition," and because it's a murder mystery and the theme of it, so you're there going, "Yeah," and start talking to them. They're all in character. They're dressed in kind of classic sort of styles and different sort of attires, and the basic plot point is that there's this group of potters who are presenting this award, and basically, yeah, it all sort of kicks off from there, and this story starts taking place. But while that's happening, you're also going on the steam train, going around, getting the views, and then having this cast sort of cropping up every so often and interacting with you while you're eating your 3-course meal. But it's excellent. It really is cool. And I think, if people get the chance and you're sort of in that kind of area and able to get there was actually a couple that was sat the other side to us. They were talking to us, and they do a lot of these events with different railways and stuff, and were saying how good they all are. But it's a really cool thing. It's something I'd never done before until I've met Ruth. But I've really, really enjoyed it. And this is, that was the second one done this year, and there's another one to come, as I say, but it's brilliant. Really recommend it.
I must admit, the bit of it being on a train certainly jumps out as a bit different, because you're traveling, you're in motion. Because you and I are into a murder mystery thing at, static locations for different friends' things in the past. But yeah, I think the idea of being on a train and having the food and whatnot sounds like quite an experience.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I have to say as well, you're going past like pubs that have got their pub garden backing onto the railway. So as you're going past, you're just seeing all these people in the pub garden waving at you and stuff. We did say, actually, next time we go, maybe find one of the pubs nearby and just have a drink there first. And we might see one of the trains a little bit earlier on going past, or at least get to sort of have a bit of a good time in the sunshine, because yeah, it was so hot on that train, really was. But it was a great experience. Really enjoyed it.
Well, it's good. Again, it sounds like something positive to enjoy. And maybe in terms of the catering experience, that's where we can get to. We will be catering on the train. Or is that a step too far?
I think that's a step too far.
The exercise will be walking through the carriages delivering the food.
I tell you what, TA, I have so much respect for the people who did it. It was so hot on that train. I can't imagine what it was like in the kitchen there. Not only that, you had the cast who were performing and people trying to serve food and drinks, which was a little bit chaotic, but it worked. It was great, a really good experience. And as I say, big shout out to Churnet Valley Railway for that experience. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, that's great. We're rattling through season 4. Rich, we've got one remaining guest episode, obviously, of the season. But we have had an array of guests that have gone before, haven't we?
We have indeed, and we are going to touch upon some of the stories behind those guests when we do our wrap up for the season. That's also going to be our 1 year anniversary special of the podcast.
Now, that's going to be called How the Hell Did We Get to a Year? With Rich threatening to quit his own podcast on 294 of those 365 days.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say that.
281.
I was going to say 282, but okay, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we've had some good ones. I think our first guest of the season, Liz McLarnon, I mean, how that happened and the story behind it, we will touch upon in the 1 year anniversary episode, but absolutely fantastic guest. And obviously the great news that she's expecting. So congratulations to her and her husband. To start off with that, and someone who we never thought would do something like this. Podcast has been such a great experience, and to then go from there and talk to Griffin from Reboot Deboot. He's a fellow podcaster who's been doing this for a long time. He also does some writing, he does streaming, which is phenomenal. And then moving on to two sets of guests that you helped to bring in with Suzanne Casamento and then Joel and JJ Flanagan, Granham.
Yeah, and then last week's episode, because we've got a run of American guests, finished with Carolyn Dreyer as well. Really great story and chat with her. So we've kind of had this sort of strange season almost, where we open with a British guest and obviously a notable British guest, and then we've kind of gone through an array of American guests, and we're finishing next week's run of guests back on a British guest. And quite an interesting one for us as well, Rich, a broadcaster who's done a lot of radio and obviously is a big part of the wrestling community.
Yeah, so next week on the podcast for our final guest episode, we are talking to Cultaholics Tom Campbell. Done a lot of work previously with Heart FM and other stations. He's certainly local to us. He's originally from our part of the country, but he moved up north about a decade ago, and he's also a ring announcer for a professional wrestling company as well. So yeah, if you're into your fitness and you want to know a bit about that, he's been through a great journey, and we'll have more on that next week for you.
And then, as you said, Rich, the 12th and final episode of the season will be the 1 year anniversary special, which I really looking forward to that. Quite the season, this. It has to be said. We've done different things over the 4 seasons, but this has certainly felt like a different season in terms of the guests who brought in from overseas and whatnot, and obviously a celebrity guest and then a broadcasting guest. Yeah, so a good season to reflect back on, and a good sort of 12 months to reflect back on, in fact, of all the different episodes that we've done. So looking forward to that, certainly.
Well, I think that probably brings this catch-up episode to a close.
Thanks very much then, Rich. I look forward to closing out the rest of the season and season 5. Where you will be cooking whilst doing yoga. I think is where season 5 is going, it seems.
Thank you very much, everybody, and we will be with you next week. Thank you, TA. Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
One more middle-aged podcast in your life?
Of course you do. Follow us on social media for behind-the-scenes stuff, extra larks, and all our latest updates.
We're on Instagram and Threads at Middaged Podcast.
Facebook's easier. Just head to facebook.com/middleagedpodcast.
If you're still hanging on to Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, we're at Middaged Podcast.
And if you're on Blue Sky, it's at middleagedpodcast.bsky.social.
Or you can swing by our website, middleagedpodcast.co.uk.
Give us a follow and stay in the loop.
Cheers for listening.
Two best mates, yeah, they're taking a stand. Rachel, Rich, and TA got your health in the hands. Williams, laughs, and tales they tell. For beats and nights, the workouts, they're keeping it real. Oh, it's the middle age.